Okay, here we are on June 13th with the Charter Review Committee. I'm Wally Paul, Charlie Prey, Manager Pete Jameson, and Louis Pelletier. And that's it.
Well, first on the agenda is protocol. So how many active members do we have, and do we have a majority of those here?
Well, it looks like, other than me, we don't have any other council members,
Well, there was only,
any other
there was only
non-council.
three,
members.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
And non-council, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And I'm
The
not
ones that are-
technically a member.
you're an ex officio member, yeah. So currently, because of resignations, we're all here.
Yeah,
Was
and
Steve a member?
Steve is not.
He's a member, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so there's three, so that there's only 4 members right now, then 3 of them would make a majority easily.
yes,
Okay.
So we could conduct business, and, you know, if anybody joins later on, I mean, I made us in rebutting one of the messages, the counselors were copied, and the school board, I reached out and asked them to join one more time to get, you know, to bring somebody forth to get on this committee. Haven't heard anything from that. So I guess we should just plow ahead, and they can play catch up at some point if they
Okay.
join.
Is there going to be an effort to find some new members?
we posted that there's a vacancy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, Diana posted.
Okay. I'm not remembering that.
Yeah.
I remember
something-
cemetery committee, but
Yeah,
it's probably.
is it something we should advertise in the paper?
I think we could do that.
Can't hurt. Put it everywhere we can, bulletin boards downtown, wherever. Grocery stores. We're gonna have to dig deep. This stuff is so interesting, you know?
oh, how about former members? You think Daigle or any of those guys might,
Maybe.
Herbie, Joey,
Randy,
Yeah.
Randy's pretty tied up right now.
I
He's got
bet he
about-
is.
He's got about 3 projects going that are all lagging. So
Yeah,
I spent a couple hours with him this morning, and not that he's panicking or anything, but he's just
Just
really
full.
focused.
Yeah, he's full. Yeah.
But I mean, look at all the people we've had on the council in the past
yeah,
that
Gail,
are
Gail
around it.
Fanjoy.
And it's a question of, look, folks, it's just a short one to review it. How long's it going on now? But I'll ask around, but obviously I think.
So we have 2 seats, correct? 2
Right.
seats is the,
I thought we kind of got a kickback on one of saying she just couldn't attend for the next month or 2.
Well, that was Beth, and she was never
Oh,
officially
she
a
was never
member.
officially a member, okay.
But Brittany said that her schedule conflicted with our meetings,
Mhm.
which we never discussed if we wanted to change our meetings. And
So would later in the day,
who was the other I'm thinking of? That
Well, maybe if we asked her
Sure.
what would be a better date.
Sherry Down.
Chair, yeah. Yeah, she said that she just couldn't make it anymore.
so we could be down to looking for one member if we can adjust our schedule to help Brittany stay on or get on.
Yeah,
Well, and having that Word document will also help with onboarding or bringing others
Yeah,
to date. As soon as we're able to finish that and then include the suggested edits throughout the
yeah.
document as we work through it,
Well,
highlighted,
if we
stricken
can get
areas.
that into an easily used Word document, I can go through with my notes and make the changes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it'll be clearly marked our suggestions.
that would make it easy for them to play catch up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll keep sounding the horns for
Yeah,
seats.
wonder what Dean's doing these years. Maybe he could join us.
Dean, Okay.
Ex-lawyer. Yeah,
he's recovering from medical treatment.
He's had a rough spell, huh?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard. Wow. Scary.
Well, let's go ahead then.
Already.
Start with Article 4. And with all the excitement you've shown already, Louis, I would never dare to say, let's not do this, you know?
Yeah, it's a long document. We gotta get through it.
Was this Article 5 today?
Yeah.
Yes, budget.
page you.
C21.
I think January would have been a good time for me to
To have done that,
study
huh?
this section of the charter.
Yeah, yeah, really. Yeah, opens your eyes, that's for sure.
Well, that first 501 looks good as is to me.
Yeah,
Ditto. Actually, there wasn't much that I read in this thing that I would change. Budget area.
We're gonna be pushing up on 7 days before the budget year for our adoption.
It was a few years ago, we were late. We didn't do it until after the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Well, we can learn and adapt for the next round.
Do you think it would strengthen it if we listed, instead of having the language saying, including the Department of Education, just listing the departments? Would that? I think this is strong enough, but why is the Department of Education signal out?
Because they're always been, because they're singled out because they've always been a problem.
well, they're singled out because they're the only department that's not directly under the manager.
Well,
I
in one
disagree
respect
with
that-
that. And I had
Yeah.
that argument with Dr. Smith when I was the acting here, because they are listed as a department of the town.
that's right. So
And
that,
why they do have, I mean, we've got a person running public works. They have a person running the school system. And again, that may get back to the state statutes establishing certain rights for them,
Yeah,
which I don't know.
yeah,
But-
but there's still, that's still the argument for it, I'm sure.
the feeling I get reading so far is that the manager has the same authority over the school board that he has all other departments, holding them accountable to this charter. So,
I
this,
agree.
you know,
Wow.
the school board is like any department head.
He has the direction over the school's budget,
Well, any,
not over the school department.
as you read this budget you know, any information he wants to request from them, they have to produce. But, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, he at some point has to hold their feet to the fire, like a couple of members, you know, myself and a member of the school board have made Freedom of Access Act requests that have been totally ignored. You know, that's the kind of thing that really needs to be resolved.
Mhm.
Well, because it says including the Department of Education under 502, should we restate that throughout in each section?
It is. It does appear in most of them, you'll see. So far, I like the idea that it singles them out because apparently today, out of all the departments, they're the ones that feel they don't have to follow the charter.
What is it they're not doing?
What are they not doing? They're not using the proper budget format. They're not sharing information in a timely manner. They're certainly not being transparent in the way they hold their meetings, because when you have 3 minutes to make a statement at the beginning of their meetings on an agenda that has no details for you to understand what's going on with the agenda items, you can make whatever statement you want. They go on about their business and don't even refer back to it, to your statement, and don't take into consideration on each item that they have on their agenda any public input, because you know you've had your chance 3 minutes at the beginning. So it's not transparent in that respect. It allows for just doing what they want without discussion. What else are they doing? They're
I think we should
There.
probably stick to the topic,
Yeah, and I,
be
yeah,
my suggestion.
there's 2 or 3 other items I could bring up, so we won't.
no, yeah, that's not. I'm interested, but not here, you know. Not,
Okay, well,
not in this
sometime
discussion.
give me a ring sometime. We'll chat it out.
Yeah,
I would, well, depending on how quickly we're going, I'm going to go back to under the Department of Education on D, in reference, this is for the purpose of the budget talk. The school board shall review the budget at least quarterly to compare the year-to-year date expenditures to amounts approved by the town council. I would like to add a sentence, and that has to be shared with the town council. Technically, you should have access to it because it should be public document once they've done it.
where is that?
The final sentence takes care of that, Charlie. Indeed, read that final sentence.
Well, but the thing is, we've been saying all along these documents are public. But
Right.
I'm directing that they share that report with the governing body of the town, because we're the ones that raise the revenues. So
Well,
I think we
look what
should,
Why don't you read that last sentence for me?
any documents prepared pursuant to this requirement shall be immediately disseminated to the public and become part of the public record. But they can
You
basically
know,
say,
we're
but
part of the public.
right, but we have to request it. I'm directing that they send it to the town council, and that we're separate from the public as a whole, because we're
Doesn't,
we're another governing entity.
Charlie, it doesn't say that we have to request it. It says any documents prepared pursuant to this requirement shall be immediately pursuant, shall be shared. It's on them to share their year-to-date expenditures. And much like we know they're not doing because we have
It's a-
accounts that are
I
out
understand.
of whack.
Louis, I understand what you're saying. I'm trying to separate the council from the general public by saying at the end of the first sentence that those expenditures amounts as approved by the town council.
Tell me again where you are. trying to-
Okay,
Go ahead.
Right above, right above Article 5,
on the,
right above Article 5.
okay, another, yeah.
Well, I could agree with adding a sentence that states they will, understanding that all the shalls are being made, a change to the word will in this document. I would be in agreement that any of these comparisons quarterly will be submitted to the town council.
My legislative experience is, that was always a battle between shall and may. I never had the word will. Will
Well-
doesn't give a definition. Shall is more demanding than will.
You think?
Will,
Oh, really?
will is, I will share it with you at my discretion or when I get around to it. Shall is you share it.
So
So if
either
you
way.
changed, shall be immediately disseminated to the council.
Well,
Yeah.
I want to keep the other one that it's, yeah, but adding that to the first sentence.
Yeah, that's
The board shall
that's
review
what
the
Walt,
budget at least quarterly compared to those amounts as approved by the town council and shall be provided to the report shall be provided to the council. That tells us if they're running on time, they're running late.
yeah, shall immediately be shared. Or submitted, shall immediately be submitted, is what Walter was saying.
No, this is a public meeting. We have to leave it open. Yep, thanks.
And then,
Leave what open?
the requirement is that any documents prepared pursuant to the shall be immediately disseminated to the public. I view the public as those people who are inquiring what the council and what the school boards are doing. It becomes public that way, the media or anybody else.
Sure.
But I think we should have access to any of that material. I think every department should be sharing their records with the manager. In the schools, one of the departments. They're not separated.
So if you just
Yeah.
made shall be immediately submitted to the town council and become part of the public
I'd
record.
say the manager. I would hope they'd be sharing with the manager, but I'm afraid if we don't specify it, they may say, council's not going to read it. We'll just send it to them. They're only part-time. Manager's job is to draw our attention to things that are happening.
Well, I agree with you, Charlie, but all the other departments, I think, are under the scrutiny of the treasurer because she prepares their, reporting every month and sees when they go out of whack and brings it to our attention.
Very
Where she
valid
doesn't
point.
have that.
A
And she
very
doesn't
valid
have
point,
that.
of which we can
Yeah.
add the treasurer too.
Yes. Well,
And the treasurer
Just-
brings
just-
it.
just like the account issues we've got now, the program issues that she wasn't notified when it was starting to occur and should have been.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm all for adding that. If you want to backtrack to D.
Immediately submitted to the town manager and become part of the public record.
Well, I'd say, because currently required to report to the treasurer as well. Is she not? Are they not? I believe,
Not according to that section.
well, not this section, but I thought Lori, Mary Alice was pointing out that,
Yes. Yes. When they're responsible for letting the treasurer know that they are submitting bills for which they have no revenue for.
without being tied up, let me work on some language and we can talk about it when we.
All right. Yeah, let's move on to budget.
So I like 502 the way it is.
Five oh two in its entirety or just that?
Yeah,
A
oh
section.
yes, it's in its entirety. I mean, it really specifies exactly what needs to be done and how it's presented. And number 4 says, such other information as may be required by the town council. So that gives the manager authority to request whatever information he wants. Or the council wants.
And clearly it was written that way specifically for that too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like the quarterly oversight. I mean, given what's happened this last year here, or this current year, we definitely should be looking at it quarterly. And it's not a concern that we have with other departments, basically, because the treasurer's there plugging the numbers into their budget every month. She doesn't get to do that with the school department because they don't present it. Well, she says she has spreadsheets that she keeps an eye on and stuff. That's how she caught this last issue. But that's something she does, you know, out of her training. It should be presented in that format that's specified here.
Who does the books for the school?
They get a business manager.
They have a, business manager. And payroll clerk, one position.
I wonder if we should move that position under the treasurer as an office chart doing the school work, kind of working for the school, funded by out of the school budget, but basically be working for the treasurer. That keeps because the final responsibility of paying for everything comes to the town. If the school overspends, we have to either make up the difference. Well, we still got to make up the difference because it has to be paid.
Yeah. Yeah, we end up being forced into a situation.
At the hearing that for the first time, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I would have to ponder that for a while.
Well, the question is,
Understand.
yeah, if they're both doing their job legitimately, there should be nothing to hide, or there shouldn't be any difficulties. Or if maybe the treasurer would, somewhere the statement is the treasurer has access to the work that's done by the school.
Mhm.
You know, or maybe that's a policy thing, not a code thing that we do.
Could be.
Because I think if some of that information, if Mary Alice was seeing some of that stuff,
Mhm.
I don't think we would have been this deep into having some of the problems of getting information.
Well, yeah, when Mary Alice uncovers something, this number 4 comes right into play. The council requests it and they have to provide it through their business manager.
What's the punishment for not doing that? Of which they really haven't been, she's waited weeks to get a response or a response to an email.
That comes down to us holding the school board's feet to the fire for not following the town charter.
But there's no punishment other than, we're just
Other
going to
than,
annoy you.
Well,
And we should, if we find them, we're finding ourselves, because we have to raise the money to have the school have the money to pay the fine.
I don't think finding them.
It's a good point. I don't
Okay.
know where the proof of authority lies or how that can be enforced.
MMA might be somebody you want to talk to. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
other towns have gone through this with troubles and difficulties. You've always had trouble.
Yeah, oh, yeah, and I'm sure way before me, that, you know,
Yeah, I remember in the days of,
Well, from the sounds of the way this,
yeah,
from the sound of the way this charter is written, it was right from the very beginning that there was an issue.
Yeah,
Well, this thing's been rewritten 2 or 3 times.
amended, yeah.
Yeah. And some of that amended language may have been an attempt to address
Yeah.
those problems earlier on.
But you know something? I mean, I'm sure that past administrators would have the same types of complaints about the council side of the relationship too, the council manager side. I mean, it's a complex thing. I'm sure it is.
I think it'd be easier.
The problem is there isn't a process in place to handle the black and white issue of the budget. And I mean, there shouldn't be a lot of play in a budget, you know, it should be a very
You know
open.
what? You know what would lend clarity to this? If we had Dean or the lawyer who, you know, understands, draw us an organizational chart so we know who is under whose authority and to what extent.
That could be helpful. We don't have a good organizational chart
No.
now.
You know what actually might be a good suggestion is if you have the manager, the chairman, and Mary Alice sit down with the chairman of the school board and the superintendent and their business manager in a room and work out a tentative process. If you can get 6 people together to sit there and talk about not even necessarily what needs to be done as to how it needs to be done, then you'll make a process. If it's like all of the council versus all of the board, it's a fist fight, you know, and that's the way everyone's gonna look at it, and there's not gonna be and real
No matter how,
no process for doing this right now. Nobody is sure how to do it, so they do what they want to do, and
no
people
matter
aren't
how
happy.
you,
I would give that a shot first before I did anything.
no matter how you approach that, Wally, I'm sure that has been suggested and tried with no response from the school side. No matter how you approach it, whatever suggestions they come up with needs to land in this committee, because the way it's written here is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
And if we start-
that has to be part of the discussion, Louis.
And if we start now enforcing what we have, then maybe they'll come to the table and want to change this document.
I don't know, I'd think about that, just
Well,
getting a small group together and
I think it could be beneficial, keep like with the goal in mind of having a policy for procedure that is understood by
yeah,
both the
Yeah.
town's side of the, you know, the operation and the school. So that all administrators on that, there's been a lot of shuffling
and
in at least 4 or 5 of those 6 titles in the past few years. No, I say a lot, but there's been shuffling, and 3 out of the 6 of those are brand new to their position.
sure.
So I could see that being a benefit if the 6 could work through a suggestion for procedure.
And if you go into it with a suggestion to the school side of here's what we'd like to achieve, here's why we want to meet this, and come having discussed your concerns with amongst yourself, you know, so that when you leave, Mary Alice is understand what's going to happen and is happy with it, you know, and their manager understands what's going to happen and is happy with it. They know who's going to be talking to who and who's going to be doing what and when these things are going to happen. And if there's something going on that for some reason it can happen, there's an explanation that goes with it so that everybody's gets it. And, you know, That's the key is being in touch. And then, Louis, if it doesn't work, at least you tried and you talked about specifics. And now it's a whole other conversation. It's not just this too much
I'm
smoke.
not,
Fog, we
yeah,
can't do
yeah,
anything. What's happening?
I'm not against what you're suggesting in any shape, form, or manner. All I'm saying is, in order for it to have any chance of success, all parties involved need to know what this document says, how it's
Yeah.
supposed
Oh,
to
yeah.
be.
Yeah, I agree.
And right now, nobody on the school side believes this document. And I can tell you that from what conversations I've
Very
had with
few on the
people that
council
support.
side have read this document.
That's right, we're learning it.
Believe, he
Oh,
said
believe
believe.
it,
I
believe
think
it,
he
yeah.
said believe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but we're always gonna have that problem. If we're only looking for fiscal information, we're not trying to run the school board
Yes,
or run the school system. We just want the data.
Yeah.
It's a question of sharing the data so financial decisions can be made.
Yeah.
Now, that may kick
Exactly, the
back on some
reporting.
of what they want to do for policy, but we're not looking at it from a policy perspective. Show us the numbers, show us how it's paying for it, or we're getting, the dollars are being spent correctly. We're just trying, the council, my vision of the council is we just want fiscal responsibility. And if
exactly.
we're not doubting what you're doing,
yeah,
but you're not showing us numbers which make us wonder why. Anyway,
Especially in light of
Yeah,
the
and-
issues they've had so far.
and that's true. When people are blowing smoke or ignoring you, then your first assumption is that something shady's happened. And it is with me, you know?
It's, as Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to ask you a direct question and you gave me a direct answer, I'd say, like it or not, I'd say, okay, I get it. But if I ask you a direct question and you start talking about something else, I'm saying,
Well, they usually, we
Something's
can't
happening.
tell you. We can't share that with you. It's public information. It's public money. No, it's school money. It's public money.
Yeah, taxpayers.
Well, see, and I've said this often, school board doesn't have to raise revenues. They only have to spend it. And they are, I believe, all want to give the kids the best education they can.
sure,
And they might have an awareness of how much it costs, but that's not their primary responsibility.
well, the thing that I would say before we get back to this is stuff like this doesn't get better unless you get in and do something about it to make it better.
Right.
And talking is always going to be the first step.
We've invited them 3 times. Listen, they won't. That's where Louis' thing is, some control that requires, maybe we ought to require that they meet with the town council 4 times a year, let alone review the budget.
Yeah,
Or maybe we add the Senate and report to the council. They do their meeting and they report to the council. Here's what our quarterly meeting told us. Here's where we are financially.
maybe we should add in this request that you're making of them providing us that quarterly report, that the school board presented to us in public, and then we can go over it. The public workshop.
Yep. I'll work on it. We'll
But
have the-
anyway,
We'll sign
we've
that to
been
the town
bending over-
manager.
we've been bending over backwards
Stepping
from
away.
day one, trying to get the school system in on this process, just so they could educate themselves about just like we are, we're learning here. A lot of things in here that we didn't realize we had authority over.
The discussion was having on the quarterly report
Mhm.
of having the school board report to the town council after they've completed their thing.
Mhm.
That way the information's being shared. Correct, Louis? Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, having the school board present it to the council in public meeting, public workshop meeting. To review
Once a-
quarterly.
Once a quarter. And that's
Yeah.
outlined in here in the existing,
Or that they
Right.
have to do it quarterly.
right, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's easy enough to arrange
Yeah.
it, as it stands now.
We'll be,
So
we'll
that
be
would
doing
put
good.
them, what's that, July, August, September, they would present the first quarterly update, what, in October?
So it depends on when we finally approve the budget.
July, August, September,
Mhm.
and then the
Sure.
recap would take place in October,
Yeah.
right? And then it would be
Well,
October,
maybe
November,
we-
December, recap
Yeah.
takes place in January.
a superintendent may delay in giving the information or having the meeting, because it does say they do it quarterly, but it doesn't say where. Maybe we should say at the end of the quarter. At the end of the quarter, the school board shall
Yeah, and if they have to play catch up, that's fine.
within 30 days or something like, no more than 30 days. And then they'd have to, within 30 days, the superintendent reporting to them and then them reporting to us within 30 days at the end of a quarter.
Yeah, to us in a public meeting. I like that idea.
And that's a suggestion for additional language in
Indeed,
D.
Yeah.
school board shall review the budget at least quarterly to compare the
So,
year-to-date expenditures to the amount as approved by the town council. That the results will be presented within 30 days at the end of a budget quarter. Some type of language like that. But I think it's easier to discuss if we have something written in front of us. So
Well, it'll be good to hopefully see a budget in the right format.
Okay, say it again. I'm gonna write this.
well,
Okay, after amounts approved by, as approved by the town council, period.
thank you.
the school board, but
Actually, we amend the second sentence. Any documents prepared pursuant to this requirement.
well, I think that should remain a sentence for release to the general public. That's why I'm thinking of a sentence in between, or maybe after the first one is that it states that they shall review the budget at least quarterly to compare the year-to-date expenditures to the amounts as approved by the council. The school board shall report to the town council within 30 days at the end of the quarter to the results of this review.
Yeah, you don't want to say any documents prepared because then they just won't prepare any.
Well, no, then the next sentence is, any documents prepared pursuant to this requirement shall be immediately dispensed to the public. So we're getting the report based upon what that second sentence would say, and the public, it would be disseminated to the public for public consumption.
The school
Yeah, I
board
agree
shall,
with that.
school board shall review.
Well, the first sentence stays the same.
Yeah.
The next sentence is the school board shall report to the council. Louis wants in a public meeting,
Yeah, I think a public budget workshop, yeah,
in a public meeting.
well.
the
public
purpose.
Budget review, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, in a public, review the quarterly,
Or would review the meeting. This meeting shall be held, shall be a public meeting.
mhm.
So that's two sentences.
Okay, the school board shall report to the town council in a public meeting
On the quarterly reviews. Within 30 days at the end of the quarter.
School board shall report to the town council in a public meeting on the quarterly review within 30 days of the end of the quarter.
Mhm. Sounds good.
Okay, so the change that we made to the last sentence is no longer a change.
Correct.
Okay.
Whoops. Did it again.
Can't shut me out that way.
He keeps ditching you, Louis.
I know it. I know it.
Okay. Okay, well. And in so you're seeing no changes then in fiscal year, budget year, and preparation and submission of budget?
No. I'm not seeing any changes there.
Now, do you need to have a deadline for the manager? I mean, he has to report to you within 60 days of the end. So
Yeah,
that means he needs material sooner.
The deadline's been set back in 405. And that's for all departments, it says, including Department of Education. So it's, the manager has to hold the school board accountable to get us that budget by May 1st. No matter how you look at it, that Department of Education is a department, not to be treated any different than any other department, except for that they have a board that sets policies on how the appropriations will be expended program-wise to meet as much as possible the mandates of the state mandates for education. Now, there's a lot of communities that don't fund through cutting back appropriations, and these mandates are not all met. So, you know, just think about this. We had a school population double the size, well, just town population double the size we have now. I don't know how much change that made in the school population, but we're running basically with the same physical plant we did back then. So the cost per student must be right out the window.
Yeah.
That's how we get to what, 54% of the tax commitment being for education. Town council hasn't been exercising their authority over the appropriation side of that budget.
And that's where the fight is, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah, and that's simply because they always break it down to, oh, you want to attack the programs, when it's really the fiscal responsibility or we're trying to meet of keeping the mill rate down or whatever, you know? Like they had a 2014 study done that could have combined all the grades into one location. Well, that would have helped the budget big time. That never happened.
Are we in 503 at this point?
I think we are, yeah.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, most of this stuff is pretty much the way it is, has to work. .503 is a statement of the obvious.
Yeah,
Going. Yeah, that's
Same
pretty
with
straight.
50. Yeah, 504 is the same.
We've been adjusting the
Mill rate.
unnecessary use of gender throughout here. And in order to do that, I think that one of those sentences would need to be restructured slightly, just the way it was written.
and, okay, to
A
what?
copy of the budget as finally adopted shall be certified by the manager and filed by him and the town assessor. I would
And
think
just-
that,
With, by him and filed with the
Take
town.
that, yeah, just take it out, yeah.
Yeah.
By the town clerk assessor.
Yeah,
Just so happens it's a him now.
Well, once Matt gets that done, you can just look for all the he's, hims, and her, she's. And limit it.
Yeah,
yeah, seriously, it's that easy from what I understand.
that'll be a good deal.
Well, and we can even bring it up, as a screen share and kind of edit
Yeah.
it.
because
Live.
we want to make sure it's not like going from obsolete to incomplete sentences too,
Right.
Yeah,
Days of old, particularly the
yeah,
if there's an inconsistency bill, you read every single word
Yeah,
of every single sentence by sentence, word by word. That this could bring it all up, and then you just look at that sentence instead of having to read the whole paragraph.
sure.
Now, there is no statement in the charter in reference to if a budget doesn't pass, if there isn't a budget. I think it's state law that either directs that it operates on the previous year's budget until the budget is passed. I know
Probably, yeah.
Congress Department works on 80% of the previous year's budget until the budget is passed. Not to go into
well, you can always check with it, MMA on that.
And of course, the issue there is, as was pointed out, we don't send the tax bills out, and we don't get payments until September. So we have that gap of having enough cash to carry us from when the tax bill goes out for July, August, and September, with
Mhm.
money coming in September.
Wouldn't you, you couldn't appropriate without having a fixed commitment amount? Couldn't you go on based on the same percentage that you're operating under for a commitment for that quarter or whatever until the budget's straightened out and then adjust it following bill?
Well, I think that's the current language. The current language is you operate on the previous year's budget. So you're going on the same expenditure that
Mill
you
rate.
had been operating.
So you'd send out the tax bill based on the prior one.
Geez, that could
No, but
cause-
you gotta have a mill rate. Or then you'd be doing two mailings for the adjustment to the tax bill.
Yeah, you'd have to in the second half of the year until the budget got approved.
We took it, when I was the acting, we took out a loan with Bangor Savings to carry us over a few weeks period.
The reserve wasn't large enough back then to do that.
Correct.
See, that's one use of the unassigned balance to cover that kind of situation.
No, but I mean, of course, we've adjusted these guys that dealt with from the closure of the mill, or those that were there after, they're the ones that went through the hard times of upping the mill rate, but also lowering the spending compared to what it was when everything was going full steam 12,
Yeah.
14, 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. At the very least, that amount of time.
Back when they brought Bird in as town manager, which I don't know if he was properly thanked for what he did, but he came in and downsized everything and
Yep.
took the beating for it, but it was a
From the same
hard
people.
time, but it was hard time.
Sure.
Necessary, yeah.
Just make a note of the time. We're at 4:57.
Yeah.
We'll want to be wrapping up here
Okay.
pretty soon.
Yeah, let's, we didn't get much done on budget, but we actually, I think there were a couple changes in the other one that
Yeah, previous one.
useful to you, so. All right, let's,
To go back to Louis' suggestion in the beginning, is there, I'm pretty open, other than, of course, council meeting night, but is there a better day than Monday for
Brittany,
sheriff?
yeah.
I don't know.
Why don't we just ask, because, and see what's convenient for you. Louis and I are probably pretty available. Either
And
way.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one day is the same for another. You are overloaded regardless of days, but you get a pick.
And the way we're keeping it to an hour, we're pretty religious about that, if you will.
Almost all the time, yeah.
We could very well set it later in the evening if that would help with, their day job.
Yeah, but Peter has another occupation after work.
The
Yeah,
the trouble is so far. that
I'm a
that
husband and
Nobody's
father.
answering my emails. Very
It's
few.
my understanding as an exempt employee, he's all hours all the time.
That's right, that is correct.
Yeah, that's why I took off all those other hats.
Back in the old days, he would have been in chains. Now he just has a cell phone.
Yeah, he can run, but he
You wanna
can't
talk
hide.
about it? Come talk to me about my wife having two kids under 5 when I went to Augusta.
Oh,
Oh, my
The Third
God.
term I was in leadership, and then the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, I was in leadership. It was,
Probably a good,
talk to the boys.
I wouldn't
Like
have
your boy,
I wouldn't
Dave.
have a wife or kids at that point, I don't think.
probably a good thing you didn't have a lot of life insurance on you back then.
Yeah.
That's great. I can be accommodating to the schedule.
Well, if we can find some
Depending on-
options, we'll discuss it then.
Most of my evenings are, I don't want to say available, but
Yeah.
they're
If we need.
not necessarily scheduled. So if we need to change this meeting, then we could probably do that.
Went a little earlier because all of us are pretty free. Starting,
Yeah,
what would be easier for you?
Or
Instead of
three.
5?
Because we started 4 now.
Do we start?
Oh,
now?
that's right.
That during the day, it just fits into my workday. That's totally fine. Now, when we start adding different members of the public,
Mhm. It would depend on their schedules are.
Well, Peter, I suggest you talk to the wife about it.
You mean the boss?
sure, yeah,
Yeah, well, same
who's
idea.
really running this town anyways?
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, something like that.
That's what Justice Thomas said the other day about why he, never mind. Go there.
Well, we'll just make an attempt
thank
to see what we can do.
Well, this is an interesting thing for me. I mean, it's kind of fun doing the artificial lawyer thing and just kind of thinking it and talking it through and everything. It's been, I don't know, it's
Enlightening.
invigorating. I like it. I enjoy it, but it's not for everybody. I understand.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what a lawyer does with what we were doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll be adjourned at 5 o'clock, so he doesn't rack up any non-payable overtime.
I was waiting for him to say
doesn't get it.
overtime and then,
He doesn't get.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I've
You
been
jump
salaried
all,
all my life.
oh, no,
you jump all over it then.
50-hour weeks are not uncommon.
that's very true. It's not an uncommon thing, even still.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get in the public. Oh,
Yeah, and it's nice. So let's get out and go home and hug the kids. You know?
Yeah.
Good stuff. We're good?
Right, this year I got 2 kids that are over 50.
Mine
not that
are,
old.
mine are in my mid-40s. I just went to Portland this weekend. And hung out with the
Nowadays,
grandkids.
you're lucky they're not at home with you, Charlie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned?
eating adjourned.
All right.
Take care, Louis.
See you, Louis.
Yes, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good
See
night.
you Thursday.
Yep, I'll be back Wednesday. Yeah, take care.